everyone. Dr. Eric here, back once again. You may have thought you got rid of me, but obviously you have not. I'm still here. I'm in your face, and I'm going to stay in your face, hopefully for the better of Cherokee County. And today with me, as I had previously suggested would happen, is Mr. Sean Kaufman.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you, Eric.
Welcome to our show. My goal here today, my goal for you guys is, I've already voiced support for Sean, and my goal is to kind of go through and talk about the things with Sean that are the reason why I'm supporting him, why I want him to win this runoff, which is coming up very soon. What's the date?
Gosh, well, June 13th is when early voting starts, but if you're not going to be here for June 13th, the week of June 13th, or June 21st, which is when the actual runoff day is, you can order a absentee ballot up to June 10th. So, there's a lot of options. A lot of people go on vacation.
So now's the time, though, is what I heard. Because what I heard there is that procrastination is going to leave you in a situation where you've missed out on your opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We need people to show up. I mean, that's going to be the key.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. And before we start, I want to congratulate you on a phenomenal campaign.
Oh, thanks.
And I really want to say thank you as well for your support, because we desperately need it. And so I'm here to answer any questions that you have and do whatever I can to hopefully earn the trust of your supporters, because we need them at the polls.
Yeah, and that's really why we're doing this. I'm doing this because I feel as though I need your support as well. So I needed your support for me. Now I need your support for Sean. And I'm not going to put Sean in a position where I'm going to ask him to talk about who he's running against. But I am going to put myself in that position a little bit. And hopefully you'll identify that it's with class. But I just want you to fully understand why my support is with Sean. And I think it'll be good for you to hear me talk about that as well.
I think that would be great.
So, all right. Well, so I've got some questions for Sean. So I want to ask you a few questions.
Yeah.
And I think the number one thing. So I'll say I had a lot of people who looked at me and said, "Hey, I've been kind of looking. I plan on voting for you, but as I'm looking and kind of comparing you with the people you're running against, I'm trying to make sure I fully understand the difference between you and Sean." Typically, they didn't have any difficulty identifying the difference between Aaron and myself. They saw that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But with you, they said, it seems like a lot of things align. And so, my typical response to them was, on a lot of these things, and perhaps a lot of things that are the key things for many of the constituents, we align pretty well. So there's just a couple things that we have in the way, and one of them is that I've spoken negatively about the CDC for over 21 years now.
Yeah.
I've pretty much hated them since the day I learned anything about them. And so then that obviously is like, well, there's a big difference there because Sean spent time with the CDC.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, I think, I'm just going to go to the one group. There's a group, it's like the Georgia, Vaccine Freedom Group. And they reached out to me, and I did a phone call interview with them, and I know there was a pastor down in Buckhead who spoke from the pulpit about me, and I think that would have been great if you had a massive church up here, it would have helped me.
Yeah.
But in what they were saying was, no Sean, vote Eric, because of their fear over vaccine freedom, and I think no one really ever had as much care of vaccine freedom as they do right now in this moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in a world of pressure where they want to take and shove a vaccine down, someone's throat, where do you stand on it?
Well, we agree on a lot more than we disagree on, and that's for sure. First and foremost, CDC is in a crisis state right now. Because you and I agree 100%. I have hated CDC, and I do all the way. COVID really was the tipping point for me.
Yeah.
As a public health professional, I have always been taught since day one, going all the way through grad school, that public health was about educating people and giving them the information in a way that they could understand, and putting them in control for themselves and for their families based on the information in their personal situations. Yeah. And that is what public health has always been. And to watch during the pandemic, public health actually try to take freedoms away from people, that's been extremely frustrating. Yeah. I have always, specific to vaccines, and let's first and foremost, let's clear something up. It's not a vaccine.
Sure,
It's
you're right.
all right. Now, if you want to
Experimental biologic.
if you want to define a vaccine as something you put in somebody's body and all of a sudden something changes, then
sure.
I mean, give me a break. It's not a vaccine. And for those who have been vaccinated, this is not a dig against you. Look, the reality is I have always believed as a public health professional that no one has the right to make decisions for your body. You make your own decisions. And the reality is that when it comes to vaccination aspects, a vaccine is a personal decision. It is not something that someone says you do. It's something that belongs between you and your doctor and your physician. And quite honestly, to be honest with you, it shouldn't even be the physician's idea. It should be the person's idea. The parents and the people are in control. That's always been my stance.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you agree with the vaccine or not, people need to be able to choose.
Yeah. Well, and I thank you for saying that, and I think that's something that is really important for people right now because, again, most people have never been confronted with these decisions. Yeah. I've been a safe haven for families for 20 years. You know, they come here. I speak out about it. I put myself in harm's way. I can't tell you how many times I've taken phone calls with pediatricians on behalf of parents.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here arguing with my pediatrician. Can you talk to him? Oh, geez. You're literally putting him in the phone. Nothing I say is going to change their mind, right? I mean, I don't know why you're putting me in this position.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, good. So now that's good, and I hope that we got him on record saying that, right? So I hope that makes you guys feel good.
Do, absolutely.
But let me so let's come off of that. So vaccine, okay, that's a big deal. Of course, someone should have a choice over that. Perhaps these are some of the things people might be saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? What about the small stuff that has been forced on me? What about masks? I can tell you. So this is an interesting thing. I got in this battle in June 2020 with. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to be mad at me later. It was somebody.
This is good. I got you.
Someone got in a battle with me, and they said, "Well, why won't you wear a mask?" And I said, "Well, because it's absolutely ineffective in the environment, in the utilization that they're trying to make this work."
Yeah.
So and I said, "You don't even want to get into how to actually make masking and gloving work.
Yeah.
But this is not the way."
Yeah.
And so I said, but it's going to make people feel better. I said, no. As soon as I give this up, next thing I know, I'm turning around and they're going to mandate a vaccine.
That's right.
And this individual said to me, to jump from mask to vaccine, and lo and behold,
there you go.
And they didn't actually ever say, okay, fine, you told me so, but they have refused to ever navigate that kind of area of conversation with me again. Like they just don't even talk about any of that stuff. So now, but then let me go ahead and say that. So what about your position on that? I mean, if you're in a position with pressure, right, and you've got people showing up screaming at you, sitting in a board seat, calling you a murderer because you won't mandate, or you won't fall in line with the mandating of masks in the school system. Yeah. What is your stance? How do you stand up against that?
Well, first and foremost, this is one of those things where if anyone is an expert in this aspect, that would be something that I would consider myself an expert in. I train individuals to work in high containment labs. These are laboratories that work with SARS, Ebola, tularemia, plague, and the masks have never been scientifically validated, ever. Never. We would never wear a surgical mask in these laboratories because they don't offer any protection whatsoever. Yeah. So first and foremost, what's most important is individual freedom. So there is no science that backs up a mask, period. Unless, of course, you're sick. Now, if you have tuberculosis or you have active disease, and you want to minimize potential environmental contamination.
Sure.
Absolutely.
If you're coughing,
absolutely.
Cough in the mask.
But again, first and foremost, in my belief, that's personal choice. Yeah. When we start crossing the line and telling people that they've got to do things to make us feel more comfortable, where does that line end? And so I absolutely disagree with mask mandates, and I don't care if people are screaming and yelling at me. I mean, and I know we're going to talk about this. I want to hear them yell and scream. I want people to be frustrated. I want to recognize the frustration. But look, science has to back things up. And when we start making decisions based on fear and emotion, and we start saying, well, we want you to do this because it makes other people feel better, we've got a problem.
Yeah. So, all right, I just want to address this because what you just heard is something that I think is one of the most critical pieces there, because what Sean just said without really saying it was that there's a difference between kind of a left-leaning perspective and a right-leaning perspective. And the left-leaning perspective is that emotion will lead the conversation over logic and reason. And that is just so true. So what I'm trying to appeal to are to the people who I think are the constituents of this district, and I'm pretty confident in this, which are more right-leaning and not aggressive. I think we're kind of center-right. And that group, you people, you understand what I'm talking about in just saying, you know what, let's just put emotion aside for a second and let's actually harvest data that we can break down. And that's what you just said. So what I really want to point out is that when we're talking about like who are we supporting for this election, we're talking about supporting someone who we think kind of fits our overall ideals and what we believe, not like every specific checkbox, right? That's not what we're after right now, because trust me, that's going to be more important when we get into deeper in this discussion. So, so with that, okay, well, good. I like the responses there. Now, next one. So these are some things that I've had people say to me along the way, right? And as recent as like yesterday, maybe or the day before, I had someone reach out and say, I just don't know if I can support Sean. So here's something I'm going to bring up, and I don't know. We'll let you figure out how to answer this question. So you've been known by this group to delete comments in Facebook posts or delete posts even, or potentially even podcast, video. And so, I have something I'm going to say about it afterwards, but I don't want to influence at all. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to stop there and let you start talking.
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity too. And I have to tell folks that I consider where I'm at right now, and if I am elected and I earn your trust, where I'll be as a board member. As a board member, it is my job. It is literally my job to listen to all perspectives and to hear all perspectives. And I make a promise, you have me on file here, that I will. That's exactly what I'll do. There will be no deleting. There will be no banning, period. I mean, as a board member, that's my job. I have to listen and I have to respond to all constituents, no doubt whatsoever. And so I want to give you that assurance that I recognize a difference between someone who's campaigning and somebody who is a full elected board member. As a politician or as somebody who is new, I don't even like being called a politician.
Yeah,
so it's
I get
hard.
it.
Even talking and setting this up, you had told me, oh my gosh, I've learned all these lessons, like the phone rings or the audio goes out. As you know, I just started in January. There are so many things that I learned, and there's so many stupid mistakes that I've made. I mean, and
Sure.
I made some big mistakes. Some of the mistakes that I made were I would put content out that actually caused people to become angry, and I would prey on that. I really would. Like, what's the benefit of causing anger when you don't have to?
Sure.
So I made a decision to remove. Why would I want to continue to anger people? Other decisions that I've made is early on in this campaign, I would engage, and it's neat. As you know, we were running with 4. The 4 can do more is no more. So there is no, there is no flipping the board. There's hopefully a voice of a dissent, maybe a voice that stands up for parents that have concerns. But the point I'm trying to get at is that I witnessed individuals, including yourself and Cam and other people I ran with, who would engage with people that simply didn't. The engagement was not fruitful.
No.
It was not beneficial. In fact, it got ugly. It got nasty. It got personal. I'm a father of 3 kids. I have a lovely wife. I own a business that's small. I'm sacrificing a substantial amount of time and resources to run a platform that gets those out there to know me and who I am as an individual. And so I'm trying my best to present who I am. And so it's very difficult sometimes if I'm trying to tell someone that I'm a certain way and somebody refuses to hear that.
Sure.
I don't really know what to do, and so it's not fruitful. Now I will tell you this, and this is true, Eric. I have never run away from a text message or a phone call or an email. If individuals have reached out to me independently and wanted to share concerns and talk, I have talked to everyone. As you know, I showed up the copper coin.
Yep.
I'm not afraid to talk to people who disagree with me. but to put comments on a social platform that allows for somebody to kind of step up and present their platform on your platform.
Absolutely.
To me, it was kind of, it's just unfruitful.
Yeah.
And I do, again, I'll make that promise. If I'm elected, I swear, there will be no banning and there will be no blocking. There just won't be. I'll have to. It's my job to listen to all constituents.
So, all right. So let me tell you what you
Yeah.
know, how I think about this. So, and many of you guys, I didn't delete anything, and I would engage, and I always engage and I know, I mean, I think I won over a few left individuals, and I don't know if they actually showed up and voted and, flipped over. I don't think they did. It doesn't show my numbers. But though, in that though, your point is taken.
Yeah.
It's sideways energy that, you're like, am I ever going to change your mind? Like Mark, you're going to comment, I know, when you see this, Mark. I can't remember your last name. You don't like me or him. You don't want us to win.
Yeah, hold on one sec. If Mark is listening to this, believe it or not, I like Mark. I've talked to Mark on phones. I've sent him emails. I like Mark a lot. I will never change Mark's mind. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
to even spend time trying. But I don't even think Mark doesn't like you. I bet you Mark likes you.
Yeah. You're probably.
I think he does. I mean, you're a likable guy.
That wasn't fair of me, Mark, to say that.
Yeah.
We don't align ideals,
Yeah.
and I think probably more than anything, it is the religious side from what your commentary has been. You just don't want that taken into the seat.
Yeah.
Now, and I think from hearing you talk, you're just like me. You've got God in your life,
Absolutely.
and God will direct and help guide your decisions, but it's not that you're going to then take that opportunity to promote God into the school.
Absolutely. No.
So,
Look, I think it's very clear. I think that's been a decision that's already been made. God is very important to me. He's very important to you, and I even know Mark is a faithful guy. The reality is that school, in my opinion, should be reading, writing, arithmetic. That's it. We stick with the basics, and we live up to the promises that we've made to our children to prepare them for the next steps in life. And that's where it is. When you start mingling into other things, that's where we lose the straight. We go straight. Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to continue my thought then. So, my position on this is the same thing. In my politician platform, I made a decision early on that I was just going to let anything go that could go. I wasn't strategic, and in that, I don't think it served me well. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I think some people that, I like seeing how you respond to all that negative stuff, and okay, great. In the end, it wasn't worth it. Yeah. And back to what you said, you're right. At that point, when you're campaigning, you want people to come in and you want them to have the ability to ascertain what your message is, who you are, not what someone else's message is on your. Right. And so, in that said, so you guys, a lot of you know, Adair Park is my development. I announced that Starbucks was coming, and some of you thought it was smart to come onto my Facebook page and start ripping on Starbucks. Why would I let your comment sit there? I mean, I'm not saying that I think Starbucks is the best thing in the world. I know the owners of Copper Point really well. I'm down there all the time. I buy a box of coffee every Friday morning. And guess what? I love those people and love their coffee. But I'm not going to promote them on my Adair Park page. I just did on this page, though, didn't I? So I think that's a crucial thing that people fail to identify, that, in this moment, you're trying to win something.
Yeah.
It really is a competition.
And I don't want to be associated with drama. I mean, I saw it play out in the other candidates. And as a that's my background in psychology. People come to a Facebook page and to literally go through all the comments that can get ugly, they can get nasty, they can get personal. Yeah. I didn't have time to do that. And I'm also, I'm an emotional guy. I'm a feeler. Sure. I really am. And I take things and I carry them. Yeah. And I try my best to live through them, but I carry them. And so when someone out there is making harsh judgments about me and they don't even know me, that's the hardest part.
It's hard, isn't it?
That's been the hardest part. The hardest part is when
we've never met.
You get called horrible, horrible things.
Yeah.
Your family gets called horrible things. And you've never even had a chance to share with this person who you are. Yeah. That's hard. Yeah. That's hard.
I did a lot of these videos during COVID where I was educating on just, immune system function and all these details. and I had 2 separate instances where people wished death on my family.
Yeah, that's
I'm
just,
like,
it's
you're
just
wishing death on my
I know.
family?
Absolutely horrible.
Really? Like, oh my gosh.
It's horrible.
But and just so you guys know, I am armed. I am. If you go back and go deep enough in my Facebook page, you'll actually see how armed I am, and you'll know not to come to my house.
It's good.
So all right. Well, I don't want to take too much time because I want to make sure this is digestible. So what I want to do now is I want to kind of cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and try to hit let's hit 4 these are your kind of key platform items or areas that would make a difference to people, just so they to get to hear that from you.
Well, I think that strategies change. They shift now, and we clearly have to shift. We're not going to flip the board. That's not happening. There's not going to be drastic changes in the board. So our campaign has shifted to now, let's take a look at Erin Ragsdale and what Erin is and who she is. And quite honestly, it's very difficult to find where she stands.
I'm gonna pause you right there, and so I said I was gonna do this so that Sean didn't have to be put on the spot.
Appreciate
You
that.
did a good job right there. It is hard to see where she stands, right?
It
We
is.
don't know where she really stands. What we do know for certain is this: we know that Erin Ragsdale. I know this for certain.
Yeah.
That she supports the existing board. She supports the path of CCSD that the way it is right now, that she is not rocking the boat. And so my assumption, and Erin, as a person, I like you, I've got nothing against you, but my assumption is that Erin would be pretty much a rubber stamp individual like the current board. And what I mean by that, you guys have heard me say this before, one of the biggest issues I have, because I sit in city council meetings a lot, and they don't go 7-0. Now that said, I just want a rezoning in Alpharetta 7-0. But they don't go 7-0. There's always dissenting opinion. Someone doesn't agree with everyone else. And when I see 7-0, 7-0, 7-0, 7-0, 7-0, I think that is dysfunctional as all get out. Either people don't care or they're doing most of their business behind closed doors. And that's wrong in a public forum. So
Yeah.
that's my concern with Erin. So, okay, keep going.
Well, I mean, there's so many questions that I would have of Erin. First and foremost, how does Erin feel about the fact that Democrats are backing her and supporting her? That she's supported by the system? How would Erin feel about, I want to know how Erin feels about Tyrone Howard. Tyrone Howard was brought in. He's a huge CRT advocate. There were people that lost their jobs. I want to know what Erin thinks about that. What does Erin feel about Cecilia Lewis? Why is Erin defending a broken and dysfunctional social emotional learning program?
Yeah.
Erin stood up at the board meeting and she supported sexually explicit and erotic books, not AP books, ladies and gentlemen, books that were on library shelves, and she supported the fact that kids could gain access to those without parental consent.
Yeah.
There are so many questions I have, and all Erin does, even if you look at her Facebook, she just promotes CCSD stuff constant. So, like you said, a rubber stamp. So, who is Erin? That's the question, and our campaign is shifting towards getting that answer.
I'm hoping we can flip some people who actually voted for Erin in the general election on the 24th of May, and I hope we can flip them here as we come into June. We're in June. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
So, okay, keep going on yours, though. Let's keep talking.
We truly are. So I think that what I would like to be is, I believe that change can start with one voice, and I want that voice to be mine. And I want to earn your voters' trust. You have a loyal group of people. You ran a phenomenal campaign. I always like to say we ran with each other because there was really nothing that we disagreed on. We really, when it comes to the issues at Cherokee County School District, we're very much in line.
Yeah.
And I think that together, when you look at everything that we did, together we would have beaten Erin.
Yeah,
and I think that,
Sure.
that Woodstock and District 5 wants change. And but what we really, really need is we need people to get out. And I know it's a big favor to ask. It's the middle of summer. People are taking vacations. We know roughly 10 to 20% of the people that voted in the primary will come out and vote in a runoff.
Yeah.
So if we want a voice that can lead to change, I hope it's mine. I hope you believe in me. I hope you can see my sincerity in this conversation. We need you to get out and vote. We really do.
I'm gonna make sure that I post in the social media where this shows up. I'm gonna post a link. So look for my comment. I'm gonna post a link so you can figure out where to order your absentee ballot as well. So that way, if you're gonna be heading out somewhere, you can get that right away. So all right, closing. I got a closing statement here I want to make. So one of the things that I kind of was running with and really had some interesting people that I got to communicate with who really wanted to get behind this idea was on increasing the career readiness, not just college readiness, vocational training, technical training. And honestly, I wouldn't even think about this. This wouldn't be something. I mean, I'm a guy I went to college for 10 years.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be thinking about this if it weren't for the fact that I've slipped into this role as a developer more and more these last 7 years or so. And so now because of that, I've just interacted with so many people who have these phenomenal businesses who pay their employees phenomenal pay.
That's right.
Who work phenomenal hours too.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so much control.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll go over to the GC over here next door. I'm like, hey, where's Marcus and all those guys? He's like, oh, they're gone. It's 3 o'clock. He said, yeah, they knock off at 3.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
You're crazy. They weren't here at 6 a.m. Like, no, they're like 8 to 3. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. So I really, I like this idea of helping people identify that. And I also say that I think I'm more and more in line with that because I feel like there's just so much liberal pressure. Like there always was. I mean, I remember when I was in school forever ago in my undergrad, I remember like the very first semester, I just couldn't stand my English teacher because she made fun of every literary giant who I loved because they were Christians.
Yeah.
All the Christians. She was just ripping apart the entire time.
That's right.
I was like, and I got a C in that class. So I stopped going. Because I couldn't stand her.
Yeah.
But so that's the other reason. Right? I just don't think people need to submit themselves to that unless they have a clear path. So the question I have is, if I stand up as a private citizen with these people who've come around me who want to support this, and we want to help drive some kind of a pathway to connect kids, juniors, seniors, in with technical, vocational, or even as I spoke about at one point, what my kids have at Fellowship, which is an amazing opportunity, 2 weeks at the end of your winter break as a junior or a senior to go into an internship and not be in school. Now, 2 weeks might be long for public school, but maybe a week. Would you be a guy who would support something like that?
Oh, man. So I love this question. So, because one thing that really bothers me is that CCSD will say that they're doing something. They'll say that they're committed to trades, but they're not. No. And let me tell you, if you go on, I believe it's 6s. I have a hard time with roads, and forgive me, but you know where Town Lake Parkway splits off?
Yep.
Okay, that
fork.
Yep. Okay, if you go all the way to when that dead ends.
Bells Ferry?
Bells Ferry, that's it. So on Bells Ferry, if you make a right on Bells Ferry, you're going to see an auto repair shop that has a big sign up on Bells Ferry. That gentleman had the same question for me very early in the campaign. And let me tell you what he told me. He told me that he had received a grant that would allow for him to bring on 2 students, that would allow for him to pay, like from junior, senior. By the time they graduated, they would be full-fledged. Body repair, like
mechanic,
phenomenal.
All that stuff.
Phenomenal. He would have paid them.
Wow.
But Cherokee County School District turned it down and said it was too much of a liability. One thing that really bothers me is that if you look at my podcast, very early on, I had the CEO of Russell HVAC. His name is Mitchell. He started working as a sophomore at Woodstock High School in the HVAC industry. He now owns his company. Never went to college, owns his company, provides for his family, does a phenomenal job. Huge believer in technical trade. In fact, our son, who has been accepted to Embry-Riddle, could not go to Embry-Riddle unless we were guaranteed that he would be in flight school, because we don't want him to go to college without learning a trade. We don't want him picking up debt without learning a way to pay that debt off. So I'm a huge advocate. And I'm not an advocate for just speaking about it. I want it done. Because I believe we have local businesses that will support our high school students.
And that's great. Because I agree. So right there, he wants it done, I want it done. And the fact that this is the kind of thing that doesn't take 4 years. This is the kind of thing that could take 3 months to get the ball rolling. And within 6 months, you could have major traction. And you're right. Because and there's an opportunity right now in Cherokee County, guys. You guys get to be part of this right now because Cherokee County growth is just off the charts. The whole area is off the charts, but Cherokee County is leading the way thanks to some of the major publications that Woodstock has gotten into in this last couple years. Money Magazine, Homes.com, best place to move to 3 weeks in a row in 2021. I mean, there's some awesome support. We got people looking in this direction. Right now, your children can be the beneficiaries of being here in what's becoming a massive growth opportunity. It's really a big deal. So, good.
Yeah, absolutely,
Awesome.
man. Well, thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So I think, guys, if you have other questions, please post them here. Reach out, PM Sean directly. If you don't want to reach out to him because you have something sensitive, feel free to ask me, and I can ask Sean. And if there's enough interest, or enough questions out there, we might decide to just do this again, actually, before we get to the election.
I would love that. I'd love it. I'd love to be back, man. Thank
Sean,
you so much.
you got
I
my
appreciate
vote,
you.
man.
Thank you. It means a lot to me. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.